Hello everyone, my name is Jean. I'd like to personally welcome you to Culture Colosseum, the new and diverse channel focused on shifting the way you see and participate in this world. Today we're going to take a deep dive into history, starting up a new series called Untold. We're going to go all the way back in time to 1260 and learn about the life and legend that was Khutulun, the Mongolian warrior princess. I'd like to welcome Heidi. She's going to be joining us today. Hi, Heidi.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing good.
Great. This is a really interesting story, so I'm excited to take somebody else through it. I'm hoping that people will learn more about history through this channel and learn more about different people that they never heard of before. So let's jump right into history. All right. Before we can look at Khutulun, we have to have at least a brief understanding of Mongolian history around that time. So Heidi, do you know anything about the Mongol Empire?
I knew that it was one of the biggest ones in the world.
Yeah, it was. And it was actually originally just a bunch of tribes that were completely unorganized at war with each other, and it was united by Genghis Khan in 1205. So he kind of got together this army, he trained them to be sort of superhumans, and then took over the whole area and expanded it. And after he took charge, there was a real era of expansion and peace within the space. So the Mongol Empire was the largest empire, and it still, I think, holds that title today. So it's pretty cool. But there was some unrest eventually. So by 1260, there was a civil war starting to brew between Genghis Khan's great-grandson, Kaidu Khan, and Kaidu's uncle, Kublai Khan. So they had some tensions. Kublai Khan was more of a political figure. He wanted to modernize the nation, while Kaidu wanted to hold on to more traditional values. So this war was starting to break out. And in 1260, this was actually when Khutulun was born. So she was born at the start of a heavy oncoming civil war. So as she started to grow, she was one of 15 children. There were 14 sons that Kaidu had. There may have been more daughters, but there was no note of that. So Kaidu, as the war started brewing, he needed help. He needed somebody who was intelligent, skilled, ruthless. And he looked at all 14 of his sons and he went, not you guys, no. I want my daughter, Khutulun. Because at this time in the Mongolian Empire, there were two things that were valued. Horses, because the more horses you had, the wealthier you were, and your physical ability, which your strength and agility was kind of akin to godliness. It was sort of seen as divine almost. So he chose his daughter to help him lead this war effort and to help him be his advisor and ride alongside him into battle, which is awesome because who doesn't like a warrior princess? She grew up and was expected to be married off. And marriage customs of the time were very different from anywhere else in the world, and they were very different from today. Women were actually pretty valued. They were a bit more advanced than any other area of that time. Women could inherit property. They could be shamans and involved in religious practices. They were allowed to voice their opinions, especially if they were married to a wealthier or lord or man of high standing. And sometimes they even acted as regents. So if there was a span between one Khan leader and the next, a woman would take the place and she would kind of lead until they found somebody who they could elect. All right, so who was Khutulun? Well, she was born in 1260, as we said, and she was the great-granddaughter of Genghis Khan, and you can really see that she was part of his family. She was strong and fierce and intelligent and beautiful. She knew how to ride horses, shoot bows, wrestle. She went into battle. She was a force to be reckoned with. But like all women of the time, when she hit a certain age, she was expected to be married off and to serve her husband and to be a strong influence in that life and bear children. Her father started lining up suitors for her. He picked out some men that he thought were the best of the best for his daughter. And she said, no, I'm going to decide who I marry. I'm going to make the decision. It's going to be based off of something that now we would deem pretty strange. It was even deemed strange then. Unique way of picking her spouse. Heidi, what do you think she tried to pick her spouse? Like, what do you think was her method of choosing her spouse?
Did she have some kind of competition, like, I don't know, an arrow shooting or who could throw something the farthest or something like that?
She did have a competition, and it was a unique one. So uh, she was the best wrestler of her group. She was the strongest, and she wanted to be the best wrestler in the world. So she said, if a man can beat me in wrestling, I will marry him.
Wow.
I know. Mongolian wrestling is really interesting. You
It's a pretty good
grapple
way
your
of paying
arms.
a husband.
So Mongolian wrestling, you lock your arms with your opponent, and you have to try and use your whole body to knock them to the ground. So it's a little different than like Western wrestling, but still, would you choose a husband like that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So her father said, "Oh, okay, if that's how you want to pick your husband, that's how we'll pick your husband." And he started arranging tournaments. He sent out a notification saying, "Yeah, my beautiful, smart daughter is ready to marry. If you can beat her in wrestling, you are allowed to marry her." So of course that attracted a lot of attention, and they started having these championships, which required a pretty steep entry fee. Can you guess what the entry fee is?
Was it money or like something like animals or something?
Yeah, kind of. So horses were pretty much currency. So if you paid 100 horses, you could fight his daughter.
Wow. That's a lot
I
of
know.
horses.
Yeah, so like not a lot of people had 100 horses at that time. That was kind of only really wealthy people could. So that was his way of ensuring that his daughter was going to be taken care of. But it was also like, you bet 100 horses. If you lose, we are richer. And if you win, then my daughter gets married. It's a win-win situation for him. Had all these championships, and it was estimated that by the end of her life, she had won 10,000 horses.
Wow.
Now, yeah, it could have been like a little bit more, a little bit less, because 10,000 in history is kind of used as like this is way too many to fathom. Like, she won a crap ton of horses. 1280, Khutulun was 20. And a wealthy prince came and he said, "I'm so determined. I know I'll beat you. You're just a princess. I'm a prince. Obviously, men are the stronger of the sexes, so I'm going to win. I'm going to bet 1,000 horses." And her parents were like, "This guy is so wealthy and so beautiful. Just lose the match. Let him marry you." And she was like, "No." And beat him so hard that he went home in shame, and she left 1,000 horses richer. She was never beaten in wrestling. And this is all from records from Marco Polo, the Italian explorer. So she won every time. So she was a military strategist, and she was so skilled in battle that her mere presence seemed to uplift the troops. They figured that if she was in battle with them, they could not lose. She was immortalized by Marco Polo. He referred to her as a hawk on the battlefield because she had this very unique skill. So the Mongolians, when they went into battle, they were on horseback, usually shooting arrows. She had a different approach to combat, and during the course of her fighting, she did take hawk-like maneuvers. What do you think her key skill was?
I don't know, hawks like dive and like stab you with like their talons. I don't know if she did some kind of like swinging horseback maneuver. I don't know, but it sounds wild.
That's a good guess. So she would race. So her group would be going in one direction. She would dart off to the side, come around, yank a guy and wrestle him off his horse, and then just ride back with him and take him as prisoner.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and she did this like multiple times per battle. She would just dart off in random directions. Like, how nightmarish would that be if you're like, "I'm a soldier, this is a normal battle. We ride in, stab, peace out." And then this girl like comes up and yanks you off and just drags you back. Because of her military prowess and her strength and intelligence, her father Kaidu wanted to make her the next Khan leader. And he was met with a lot of resistance from her brothers and from his advisors. So he wasn't able to make her his leader, his heir. and instead a man named Dua was appointed. But Khutulun was fine with that. She wanted to be on the battlefield. She was like, I'm not into politics. Honestly, I just want to fight people. There's some controversy around if she married or not, because we know she never lost a battle. Some people thought that maybe she had a relationship with her father, and that's why he was so lenient with her. This is not supported by history. There's no context that supports this. Marco Polo didn't have anything about it in his writing. There was nothing about it even represented in the area. So some people thought maybe she just married some random follower of her father just to show people, hey, look, it's fine, I got married. There was also some historians that believe she may have been queer, that she may have had her own harem, or that she may have just remained single forever. So there's a little bit of controversy with that. And around the time of her death, even, we do see some mystery. So then 1306, Khutulun was only 46 years old, and she died mysteriously, very shortly after her father was killed. So her father dies, she dies, and nobody knows how or why. So it's kind of assumed that she may have been killed off because she had too much influence. So maybe one of her brothers, or maybe somebody else who wanted to take over decided, you know what, she's a little too strong, we have to get rid of her. But nobody knows, and it wasn't written about. So it's kind of interesting to see how this woman who was so influential and so revolutionary for the time gets lost in history, and people don't know what happened to her. But we do see that she has some legacy even to this day. So she lives on in television series, and you see Marco Polo, like I said. She's played by the wonderful Claudia Kim in that series. And you can see her, she doesn't come up a lot in that show, but she is in it. So that's some honor. And then she is honored at the end of Mongolian wrestling matches. And then in 1710, a Frenchman named François Pitres de la Croix, he wrote a play about her called Tutandot, which he found out about Khutulun, and he thought, what amazing woman. We should modernize this. So instead of wrestling, the main character of Tutandot was a powerful, strong, influential, beautiful woman who would not marry a man until he could answer her riddles. And instead of betting horses, they bet their life on that. So if they were to lose and fail her riddles, they would be killed. If they were to succeed, she would wed them. And she kind of had this outright refusal of marriage at that time. So you can see that was a play, and then it was transitioned into an opera in the early 1900s, which really reflected the time, because instead of her rejecting marriage for the entire play, she sort of gives in to the idea of love and learns how being a woman is fulfilling, and yes, being subservient to a man does bring you joy. So there's that. But that's the legacy of Khutulun. You can kind of see her in this play reflected, and then in this modern show, and honored at wrestling matches. But she's not very well known in the West, and I kind of hope to change that, because I feel like more young women need people to look up to. So what'd you think about that crazy story?
That's super cool. I love that she was so empowered back then, especially in a time when women weren't really honored or like respected as people at all. And she was just like, yeah, I'm gonna wrestle a bunch of guys, take a bunch of horses, and like fight people. That's
she
so
was
great.
like, I'm standing my ground.
Yeah.
I think that's
really
a
cool.
good, yeah, I think it's a good figure to look up to. I think that's somebody who you can say outright, like, this is a strong woman, and this is somebody who existed back when women didn't have any rights or anything to look forward to in life. So I'm glad that you could stay and listen to the story with me.
Yeah, that was great. I want to look up her after this and learn more about her. She sounds really cool.
So now you know the story of Khutulun. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to hit the like button if you enjoyed, and comment down below to tell me what weird or underrated story from history you want us to cover next. Subscribe for more content like this. And again, I'm Jean, this is Heidi, and welcome to Culture Colosseum.